Welcome, YouTubers and fellow star citizens, from a lovely Saturday morning in the greater suburbia of unincorporated St. Louis County. Today I'm going to discuss my joystick setup for Star Citizen, which should be aptly called a not-so-budget joystick overview and review. I was originally wanting to go hands-on with like the X52 at least, and the maybe even the Warthog, but getting married in a couple weeks and the budget just isn't there right now. So I elected to instead tell you about the setup that I elected to go with for Star Citizen and the dogfighting module, and the reason why I selected the products that I did. Now, I did do a budget joystick review where I just happened upon a bunch of them for 20 bucks a pop and bought them, brought them home, and kind of did my review of them. For those who aren't quite sure, but seriously thinking, I mean, some people who've spent hundreds of dollars on the game, picking up a joystick for 20 bucks probably is not outside of the realm of their budget. Especially, there's been an entire generation of gamers, I don't think, who have ever used a joystick, as mouse and keyboard and controllers became the default standard input method they're used to from consoles and PC games is mouse and keyboard. In my era, it was if you're playing a PC game, you're playing with a joystick. So before you today, I have the CH Fighter Stick USB, the CH Pro pedals, and the CH Pro Throttle, which I was going to get ready to review last time in my last video. Those were arriving that day, and the review with the CH Pro Throttle was over 15 minutes, so I elected just to cut it out in the last video. So today I'm going to take you through the overview and everything of my setup. Now, I lucked out. I was able to find that on an Amazon warehouse deal, and the Pro pedals were a little bit cheaper when I bought them last winter than they are currently right now on Amazon. And the reason suddenly the prices have shot up on Amazon, I'm almost positive, is due to Star Citizen and a lot of people buying CH gear for the dogfighting module, or as we now know it as Arena Commander. As such, the prices have gone up about $10 a component. So, normally, when things kind of the craziness subsides, you can find each one of these for about $95 each. Now, CH is unique, as in they do not sell a HOTAS set. You have to buy each component individually, and then using their software, you can combine them actually into one unit that the computer will see, which makes it handy for older games. Every other set on the market, you have to buy as a set. Now, you can buy the Thrustmaster stick by itself, but it's not like you can buy a T16000M and then go out and buy the Warthog throttle separate. You have to buy the throttle as part of the Warthog HOTAS set. Same thing with the X52 from Saytech and the X55 from Saytech. So that makes CH a little bit unique because you can take a $20 Thrustmaster T16000M and combine it with the rest of the setup here, because I used it for actually a couple of months. I just now recently got the fighter stick. And so long as it's a more modern game that accepts direct input, everything works fine. I used it for about 2 months with just the Thrustmaster stick instead of the CH stick. So, let's talk about the CH Fighter Stick. Now, CH does offer 3 sticks that you can basically set up into this configuration. This is their highest end at $95. It is the Fighter Stick. They offer at $75 a combat stick, which the only major differences are you don't get these 3 LED lights, which tell you what mode you can put, much like you can with Saytech joysticks, you can put it into one of 3 modes by default using this button right here. The computer is not powered up right now, so it's going to be that amber light. But you can switch between 3 basically programmable sets. So you could have a navigation configuration, a combat configuration, and a mining configuration, let's say. I think that's what they usually use in the Star Citizen example. Now, the fighter stick has 2 hats here, 2 4-way directional hats. the combat stick replaces that with single action buttons. Some people actually prefer that. The reason being is, I'll take War Thunder as an example. I have drop bombs forward. I have fire rockets up. And in the heat of combat, there have been a number of times going, why am I not dropping bombs? And look on the screen, it's like, you are out of rockets. So I'm not articulating that switch correctly. With a combat stick, with this just being a button and that being a button, you can essentially do guns, bigger guns, or other guns, drop bombs, fire missiles, or launch countermeasures. I guess usually it's guns, missiles, bombs, countermeasures. So that gives you some options. Now, prior to this, I owned an X45 set or stick, and Saytech did fix this with the 52, but that stick was so tall that I had trouble reaching their pinky switch down here. Traditionally, this is used for shift so that you can basically double up all of the commands on here. So this would be, you could have, this is guns, but hold this down, it becomes cannons, or guns, missiles, and then you could use something else. Fire heat-seeking missiles, hold this down, press up here, it's radar-guided missiles, or, there's just a lot of different options you can go and do there, but effectively what it does is it acts as the shift key and allows you to double up the number of commands. So fighter stick, you have 3 4-way hats, an 8-way hat, single action button, trigger, the pinky shifter, and then the button over here. A lot of times I map this to select whatever target I'm currently pointing my nose at. But you could do countermeasures or a bunch of other options and stuff there. I really do like this stick. Now, it is very light to the touch. I mean, that was the biggest thing I had to get used to. You barely touch this, and it's translating to on-screen movements. It is a very, very loosely sprung joystick. I thought that had a loose spring on it compared to the Extreme 3D Pro, but that stick seems to be tight compared to this one. And it was something that, frankly, took a little getting used to. I thought it was bad on that, and it was far more worse on this. I tend to prefer a tighter sprung joystick. Up into the Warthog. The Warthog is just the amount of the tightness of the spring on that center spring of that joystick is just, I feel, borders on the ridiculous, to the point where it actually impacts your ability to do precise gunnery. It's an accurate joystick. It's not a very precise joystick. It's made for jet combat, not World War II era sims. As a result, that's one of the reasons why I selected to go with the CH setup. CH is also legendary for the quality. There are posts on the RSI forums. You'll see posts on Reddit. You'll see posts in other flight sim forums routinely of people. I'm using 15-year-old CH gear because they did offer the ability to refurb it from serial to USB. Some people are using CH gear that can probably legally vote if it was a person in the United States. It's more than 15 years. It's 15 going on 20 years. And there's just simply no other manufacturer out there that can claim that, because the designs have not changed in 20 years. As far as I'm concerned, the main reason for that is they built a solid product 20 years ago that worked and was known for its accuracy and quality and durability, and that hasn't changed. That cannot be saying you can... I don't know of anyone who says that they have a CH stick. There's certainly not an X52 that's lasted 15 years, because it hasn't even been out for a decade yet. So that kind of gives you an idea of, if you want to spend the money and get something that's durable and made with quality control, CH is your brand. Thrustmaster, I think that the Warthog is a good stick. It's a good quality stick in most respects. However, it's metal on the outside, and several key parts in the throttle, I've found out from a friend of mine who has one, is plastic, and it does break. Like, his right throttle has no tension to it whatsoever. So keep that in mind, too. I just don't feel that the Warthog is $300 more joystick than what the CH lineup gives you. So with that being said, let's go to the throttle. You know, I have to admit I like the X45 throttle better. I like the X52 I like the ergonomics of the 52 better. The X65 or X55 throttle, I don't really have enough time with one of those to really give you much of a feedback. It's cool. It has a lot of buttons, has a lot of mechanical switches on it, but in terms of overall functionality compared to the X52 throttle, this one beats it hands down. Now, I know some people don't necessarily like that it's a linear action instead of a rolling action. The T-Flight X HOTAS, it's a rolling action. But I find that it moves very intuitively, and there's just a ton of buttons. You have these three, and I don't have the biggest hands in the world. In fact, that was a problem with the X45, again, reaching that pinky switch. But everything fits, and it's comfortable, and the three fingers line up here, and traditionally this becomes shift, control, and alt, so then you can basically triple, if not more than triple, the amount of buttons here. You have a four-way hat here, another four-way hat, another four-way hat, eight-way hat, and then the coup de grace, the mini stick. Now the X52 and X55 kind of has one of those little nubbins. If you ever remember the old IBM ThinkPad keyboards, old laptop keyboards, where they had a mouse as a little nubbin in the middle of the keyboard. I don't know what they're properly called. Some people call them nipples. I use nubbins. That's a term from Red versus Blue. But that's essentially what they have. And while it works to move an on-screen cursor, I have a feeling this is going to be much better when you want to control strafing, because it's a full analog mini stick. So that means so long as it supports the mapping, it's just not your strafing thrusters are all on or off. I can control whether I want a little thrust, a little thrust, or a lot of thrust, and vary that, assuming that they accept relative positioning on that input axis, and it's just not simply all on, all off, because in Diaspora, for instance, it's all on, all off. And I actually use one of these to control my thrusters in Diaspora. But now the rudder pedals, a lot of people complain that they're close together, and I can see that. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm like 5'7", so I'm not extremely tall. They work for me. And they do have a toe brake. Now, one interesting thing about CH is it comes with some stop blocks you can put back there to keep it from sliding back and forward. And then you can use this as brake and throttle in a race car game. My plan for 6 Degrees of Freedom is I will use the toe brakes on the rudder pedals as reverse thrust. So, much as I would in an atmospheric flight sim to slow down on the runway when I landed, I'd slam on the brakes and do that for a reverse thrust. And then keep main thrust here, so it would be slam this back to zero, hit the reverse thrust, and watch them fly right past. So, that's my CH setup. Oh, and if you're wondering, these are Thrustmaster Cougar MFDs. You can get 2 of them for about $75. And when it comes to realistic flight sims, I'm a Falcon 4, Falcon BMS guy over DCS A10 Warthog or SU-25. So I tend to have more Falcon-y things, and those are the MFDs from or copies of MFDs from the F-16. And you can have up to 8 of them. The device drivers will power up to 8 if you have the USB ports. I may add a couple more over the next few months, but yeah, this is my setup in a nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and my coffee should be done fixing upstairs, so I think I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee and put this video up on the internet. Thank you very much, and see you next time.